So dear brothers and sisters, the Church does not advise anyone on who to vote for, but we do have a set of principles which are derived from our faith in Jesus Christ, which we encourage people to consider when voting. And these principles are the dignity and the worth of every human being whom we believe to be made in the image of God, the fair distribution of wealth, and that the needs of the poor should be given priority. The importance of popular participation in society. That families receive the help and support that they need. The dignity of work and the rights of workers, including just wages, safe working conditions, and proper trade union representation. The principle of solidarity. The importance of supporting those in the community who need our help. And last but not least, the care of God's creation, this beautiful created world in which we live.
Hi there, my name's Guy Hunt, your Green Party candidate. I am standing, I'm an accountant by trade, and I'm standing because sustainability is the way that we are going to move forward as a country and as a world. So we can't just look purely at profit. I'm an accountant, so I know that profit's crucial for many businesses, but we need to do it in a sustainable way. So that includes looking after the environment and looking after our people. So those are three of the key ingredients of the Green Party and what we're campaigning on, and so it very much stands true to me. So I want to make this, as a sustainable country as possible for our future. Thanks.
Yes, hello everybody, I'm Barry Kirker from Labour. I'm running again this time around. Some of you may recall I was a candidate as well in 2014. And the reason I'm running again is firstly because I'm really committed to Pakuranga. Lived here for quite a while, well established in the area, and I want to be the local voice in Parliament for Pakuranga as a local. But also I'm actually committed to changing the government, because here I stand 3 years on from last time I ran, and I don't think the country's any better off. I think the country's worse off. The changes that need to occur haven't occurred. So I'm committed to Pakuranga, I'm committed to changing the government. A little bit about myself. I'm a psychologist, clinical psychologist, so I'm particularly interested in mental health. And it's through working in mental health I've seen a lot of the problems that are in this country. So I'm going to be talking obviously about Labour's policies tonight, but just a little bit about myself to start with. Thank you.
Called Carrie Stoddard-Smith, North of Party Māori Aho, kia ora. I've lived in Pakuranga for around 10 to 15 years, or the most part thereof. My husband Ben and his family have lived here, worked here and learned here since the early 1980s. They have a strong connection to this parish and also to St Mark's Primary, where my mother-in-law was a teacher there. I decided to stand for Pakuranga because I firmly believe we need local representation. We need someone with existing connections and a real stake in our community, and I think that person is me. I'm saying that because the issues that affect you and your family affect me and my family too. We need someone influential in their party to make a difference for our community. I'm the highest ranked candidate standing in the Pakuranga electorate. I already represent our party at the national level in panels alongside ministers and senior MPs. I've worked in Wellington in policy and I know what it takes to get decisions over the line. I believe every person in New Zealand deserves to have their voice heard. Every person deserves to be treated as a whole person, to have the support to meet their needs and the opportunities to achieve their aspirations. You get 2 ticks on election day. Make sure one of those is for Carrie Stoddard-Smith, for a local and influential voice in Parliament. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Kelly and I'm here today as the New Zealand First candidate for the Pakuranga electorate. I was born in Auckland and have spent the majority of my life living here in the Pakuranga electorate, raising my 3 very active children and being involved in the many sports communities and schools and PTAs. I describe myself as a successful, self-made businesswoman with a passion for giving back to my community. Yeah. And I believe New Zealand First is the only party that truly has the courage and backbone to take back control of this country. With years of uncontrolled immigration now seriously impacting the lives of New Zealanders, and in particular Aucklanders, we need time to catch up and to build the infrastructure, schools, houses and hospitals. We want our children and grandchildren to no longer be locked out of the housing market destined to a life of renting in their own country. This is not the New Zealand way. I wholeheartedly believe in New Zealand first. Thank you.
Well, kia ora and good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. I just want to start by thanking the St Mark's Parish for organising this Meet the Candidates meeting. My name is Simeon Brown, and it's a privilege to be standing as your candidate here in Pakuranga. I'm passionate about East Auckland, and I'm seeking your party vote for National, and asking that you elect me to be your next local Member of Parliament. I have a background in commercial banking and local politics, which has given me a proven track record of working for constituents and getting stuff done. I'll bring that same energy and determination here to Pakuranga. I have a clear set of priorities if elected as your next local Member of Parliament, and these have been affirmed through the last 5 months of knocking on thousands of doors, visiting countless local businesses, public meetings and visiting community organisations. 1. We need to get Amity over the line and build the Reeves Road flyover to relieve congestion. 2. More police and increased community safety. 3. Supporting local families and businesses. 4. Continued improvements in education. 5. Well-resourced local health services. Ladies and gentlemen, asking for your party vote for National and your local vote, electorate vote for me. Thank you.
So, in this statement, our Catholic bishops explain what they saw as the key issues in this election. And this year our bishops identified the following points. They began with the galloping gulf between the rich and the poor in our society, and the urgent need to address that through just wages, through decent benefits and through fairer tax systems.
Well, there's corruption.
Our bishops called for love and care for the unborn, the vulnerable, the disabled, the elderly and the different, which are the mark of a compassionate society, as well as well-funded palliative care services. Legalisation of assisted suicide undermines trust in the medical profession and puts vulnerable elderly people in our society at risk. The importance of working to build a truly bicultural society which respects the Māori people as tangata whenua and continues to work to address past injustices and present inequalities. The importance of cultural diversity and encouraging and welcoming migrants and refugees. That all our children grow up in a safe society with special concern for the dangers of both soft drugs like marijuana and hard drugs like weed. The urgent need to take action to protect our common home, planet Earth. Our bishops write, New Zealand's export-based economy has started to show its environmental limits, with increased greenhouse gas emissions, freshwater pollution, and threats to biodiversity. Are we, they ask, as a nation, really pulling our weight on climate change when we plan to meet our commitments in this regard by simply buying carbon credits from other countries? The urgent need for a fair tax structure, especially one that is fair to low-income earners, and in which property speculators and big business pay their fair share of tax. Urgent action to address the crisis in mental health provision, which has been inadequately funded for years. The importance of affordable, decent housing and action to address our growing homelessness problem. The need for reform of our prison system, which our bishops called a national disgrace. Brothers and sisters, the Church encourages all New Zealanders to think about these issues and to cast their vote for a fairer society. We invite our candidates to respond to these issues by clearly stating what you intend to do to address these issues.
Yes, hello again everyone. Well, hearing that statement read out and the extra bits too that are written down just really affirmed to me, how closely aligned the Labour Party values are to the bishops there, because we pretty much believe all of those things, and some of those things underpin the actual Labour Party. Obviously, fair distribution of wealth, the dignity of work, helping the vulnerable, the marginalised. Labour's looking out for those people. Cannabis is harmful, No matter what people say, there's plenty of scientific evidence to support that, but also a lot of anecdotal evidence. It is harmful. And the other thing about cannabis, of course, is that it does lead to people using heavier drugs. People move on to heavier drugs. Now, I'm not saying cannabis maybe is more harmful than alcohol, but we need to remember it is harmful. So all policies around that need to not forget that important point. And I think it's getting a bit lost lately when we're talking about it, using it for additional purposes, which I won't get into at the moment, but maybe a question later on. So yes, but the way to approach drugs is obviously not to have armed police going around and having a war on drugs. I don't think that's the solution. The solution is obviously looking at why people are using drugs, taking an educated approach, taking a preventative approach and a rehabilitative approach, and that's very much the Labour policy's view as well. Now, fair tax structure. Well, absolutely, we couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with that more, and the Labour Party couldn't agree with that more. And so this is why we actually rejected the National Party's tax cuts. You may remember they had a proposal to tax cuts. We felt those tax cuts were going to be going to the welfare people rather than the poor people that really needed them. Also, the money that was going to come from those tax cuts we were going to be putting into the health system. We certainly have a policy of actually raising the minimum wage. We want to increase that minimum wage instantly as soon as we get into power, with a view to have it increasing after that. The ultimate goal is towards a living wage. Absolutely, I think the living wage is very important, and that's the ultimate goal there. There needs to be some sort of redistribution, obviously, in society to go with that to raise everyone's incomes. Now, mental health is an area that's very important to me. I've heard Simeon, we've been in a few debates now, and he's talked about how, he might even talk about tonight how National's actually putting money into health and improving things. I mean, this is like the same denial that Jonathan Coleman showed yesterday. We know that that's not happening. That's a real problem in this country, mental health and health generally, and we're going to do something about it. Right, so the Labour has policies on affordable housing, both in terms of speculators encouraging housing here, as well as supporting people in cold houses that don't have insulation through our Healthy Homes Bill. So again, we're going to be targeting the vulnerable in society through our housing policy.
When I read the Bishop's statement, what stuck out to me was the importance of having a vision. I'm reminded of a Māori whakatauki very similar to that of the Bishop's. Ki te kāhore he whakakitenga ki ngaro te iwi. Without foresight or vision, the people will be lost. He tangata the people is the most important thing in the world. The Māori Party is a party that lives that knowledge. We look at issues in a holistic way. We acknowledge that all aspects of life are interrelated and connected. We place whānau, family, at the centre of everything we do because we know that whānau is the foundation on which Aotearoa thrives. We will work with any party, but we will not support any policy that promotes intolerance, discrimination, or the elimination of human rights. We are about shared connections and celebrating diversity. Our collective futures depend on us all working together to achieve the total well-being of whānau, because we all have the right to be healthy, well-educated, and live in a warm, safe, affordable home, to enjoy drinkable, swimmable water that kai can be collected from, and a safe environment to enjoy for all who call Aotearoa home. Like the Bishops, we also believe all persons must be treated with dignity. One way we've demonstrated this is that the Māori Party established the first dedicated Human Rights Commissioner for disability issues. We have a long-standing and strong commitment to investing in enabling disabled people through our Enabling Good Lives policy that we will extend so our disabled whānau have more choices, more control and more flexibility over the support and funding they need in their everyday lives. I just want to move on to the bicultural element of the statement. Our co-leader Marama Fox recently expressed one of the inspirational quotes that set her on her language journey. To know me is to know my language. I'm one of the many Māori and many New Zealanders who do not speak Te Reo Māori. I absolutely want to see Te Reo included as a core curriculum subject in our mainstream classrooms. I want our schools to incorporate Māori ways of knowing so all of our children are culturally competent, tolerant and better equipped to navigate their futures together. Aroha ki te tangata must be extended to all peoples coming to Aotearoa. That is love and respect for all peoples. Achieving total well-being for all whānau, newly arrived or otherwise, entails making sure our communities are safe and free from drugs and violence in all its forms. Our tamariki are depending on all of us to make that difference for them. We must be preventative, we must be restorative, and we must be therapeutic if we are to drive drugs and drug-fueled crime from our communities permanently. We need cross-parliamentary effort to eradicate P and synthetic cannabis. This is not a matter of left or right politics, it's about protecting our children and enhancing the well-being of all whānau. We need greater investment in respite care for addiction, stronger border controls, and we need significantly greater investment in mental health and addiction services. We need therapeutic approaches to justice, approaches that address the needs of the individual and their whānau. Retributive approaches that focus on the punishment do not reduce reoffending, they do not address the issue at its core. They prolong the suffering of the individual, the whānau and our communities.
Okay, first and foremost I would say health is the biggest priority for New Zealand First. We need to make investment in the mental health, and it has to be a priority. With more community options available and an increase in mental health beds, that's an absolute must. When we have the highest youth suicide rate in the OECD, this is an absolute priority to protect our young. We've also got the DHBs now denied an extra $250 million per annum just to cover current costs. We are falling so far behind, our waiting lists are endless, and we need to establish a commission of inquiry into the public health system in New Zealand. This is an absolute priority for New Zealand First. Second, and almost as important, is our housing. It's seriously unaffordable in Auckland, with house prices now 10 times the median household income, pricing your average Aucklander out of the market. We are the 4th in the world for housing unaffordability. It's a national disgrace. Housing stock must be for New Zealanders first and foremost. No foreign ownership unless there is a genuine need. We need to temporarily put controls on immigration to only include the absolute needed skilled migrants, and to give us a chance to catch up and build the houses that we need when we have 45,000 people coming into our city every year. Water is also a right for all New Zealanders. It is an absolute priority and is precious to all of us, not just, it should be equal to everyone. We also need to bridge the gap between rich and poor. It is growing every day and it is just out of control, and 30 years ago this was not the case. We need a fairer tax system for all and a minimum wage of $20 an hour. Now that is expanded over 3 years and will include tax breaks for companies who will be paying this on, so no one will suffer, and we really need to bridge that gap. We believe the people at the moment on the minimum wage cannot live. They're ending up living in our cars and garages, so we also would like to cut GST from foods and basic products, and also rates. We don't believe there should be any tax on rates. It's basically a tax on a tax. As far as abortion and euthanasia and legalisation of drugs, we believe that these are deeply personal choices and must not be decided by 121 MPs. So we believe in a binding referendum, the same as for anti-smacking and so forth.
First, I'd just like to go through those points one by one. Pro-life policies. I agree with you that we must care for our most vulnerable. I am someone who has a high regard for the value of life, and we must care for, from our youngest through to our elderly. I'm proud of National's record in caring for our most vulnerable, especially with the significant increases that we have made in funding palliative care. I believe a multicultural and diverse society is integral to the Kiwi way of life, and National's always been a party which is open to the world. National is the party which has also made the most advancement towards the completion of the iwi treaty claims in New Zealand. We have dealt with over 50 iwi treaty settlements during our time in government, while only 11 were made under the Clark government. National is also committed to welcoming and resettling refugees and asylum seekers to our shores, but also balancing this against the need to make sure it's at a sustainable level. National is open to new migrants coming to New Zealand who have the right skills and who wish to contribute to New Zealand society. This is at odds with the opposition who wish to slash migration, which will have a detrimental impact on our regions and local industries which rely on skilled migrant labour. I'm particularly proud of my own achievement in leading the campaign in Auckland against the sale and supply of synthetic drugs during my time in local government. This resulted in not only a ban across Auckland but a ban nationwide on these products. You'll also be pleased to see National's announcement yesterday where we have announced $82 million over 4 years to tackle methamphetamine in New Zealand. National has done more for our environment than has been done with practical solutions than previous governments. We've invested $400 million in freshwater improvements, 6 times what the previous government put into this. We've recently announced a $100 million allocation from our freshwater improvement fund, which will go towards improving 100 rivers, lakes, wetlands and lagoons across the country. We believe in a fair tax structure, which means the tax burden is shared fairly. And the tax changes which we made this year, supported by every other party except for the Labour Party, will lift 1/3 of children in poverty out of poverty. 50,000 children when that comes into force next year. On mental health, we've invested $224 million additional into mental health funding, with $100 million going into ensuring that our experts such as Barry can provide new solutions to tackle this issue. It's a challenge. We know the issue that we're facing and we need to be open to new ideas, and that's what we are doing. In regards to our health budget, we've increased the health budget by 40% since we came into government. Housing. National believes the solution to the affordable housing problem is more land supply and reducing housing costs. We need to do more on that, and we are continuing to do that, working with the council. In regards to the prison population, yes, we need to do more in that regard, but it's also about making sure we rehabilitate people out into society and reduce reoffending.
I'll try and tick off a few of those items on the statement to let you know what our thoughts are. So, caring for our planet. We are the leading political party here in New Zealand on climate change. We've been trying to force this issue for 25 years, and now other parties are finally starting to catch up. We're going to target 100% renewable energy by 2030, carbon neutral economy by 2050. This has to be done for our future. We will clean up our waterways, including lakes, rivers and aquifers, and because our planet needs looking after to ensure our future. We will raise the top tax rate to 40% and lower the bottom tax rate from 10.5% to 9%. It gives those people at the bottom that little bit of extra cash so they are not in poverty. Simeon said they will raise 50,000 people out of poverty. We're aiming to raise 300,000 out of poverty with our policies. Mental health. The Green Party supports the findings of the People's Mental Health Review, and we will hold an inquiry into our strained mental health system. 30% of young people who seek help for mental health have to wait longer than 3 weeks, and 1,337 of those had to wait longer than 8 weeks. They're in dark times, and you can't have people waiting that long for help. Affordable housing. Housing is a social good and a basic right. No one should be prevented from establishing a decent home because of a low income. All people should have secure tenure of appropriate housing. Housing developments should optimise land use, reduce car use, and be built in sustainable building principles. Energy saving and resource conserving technologies must be promoted. Prison population. New Zealand needs more initiatives aimed at reducing our prison population. International experience in the criminal justice area shows that investing in drug and alcohol treatment and properly funded mental health services reduces the numbers of people committing crimes. Migration. We support a progressive and human immigration system which acknowledges the right to live in Aotearoa, New Zealand, derived from the Te Tiriti o Waitangi. We will bring in 4,000 refugees, and we will create a new class for climate refugees. There's currently 63 million refugees worldwide. Let that number sink in. That is a lot. And we, as a country, are one of the lowest bringing refugees into this country. We will work with communities to combat prejudice and develop a fair, compassionate and effective immigration and migrant settlement process. We will provide assistance for all migrants to learn English and establish a standalone Ministry of Ethnic Affairs.
And the world will be as one. I know you say that we're dreamers, but we're not the only ones. But we're not the only ones. My turn? I hope tonight that we'll be heard for September 23rd.